what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with the inaugural season of the NCSL, exclusively here on College Football Revamp. But not only that, we are closing in on the end of the regular season. We are in week number 13 right now, and because every conference at high-end Division I football does have a conference championship, there is only 14 weeks in the regular season. So we only have 2 more weeks of regular season action before we start getting into who's going to clinch those spots into the college football playoff. So that being said, going to be an exciting episode in this one as we have some really intriguing action around the country. Going to see teams like Navy and Temple go at it. They're going to be fighting for an opportunity to go to a conference championship. We're going to also see some other teams in action later in this episode. How good is Michigan? Can they not look past Iowa? They take on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the next episode. We also have a bunch of other games happening around the nation. Miami's going to be in action. College game day going out west. Oregon taking on the Washington Huskies. That's going to be your game day episode here in this particular episode. And there's just a lot of great football really to go over in this one. I hope you guys are excited for it as we have 16 nationally televised games that you will see over the course of this episode, as well as the occasional studio update, and we'll check in on some other notable regionally televised games around the country as well. Plus, we will go ahead and see what that college football playoff poll is looking like as we are closing in on the end of the regular season. So, hope you guys are excited for it here in this episode. If you are, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. I'll see you on football fields around the country for week number 13 action. So we will go ahead and get the college football action here in week number 13, starting with a conference matchup between Boston College and the Nittany Lions of Penn State, who come in ranked number 16 in the country. They will quickly tie it up here as Brian Henry is just going to run into the end zone, wide butt naked open, all by himself, doesn't even have a scratch on him. But we still have a very competitive game here in the second half. Boston College, even though they are a team that is not going to be going bowling at any point here in year number 1, they are still playing with a lot of pride. And they might mess around and pull this upset off, and that would be a heck of a way to start this episode out. However, Penn State looking to finish the job as Justin Hill runs it over to the left-hand side. Picks up the first down there. And then the final moments of the third quarter, going back to Hill yet again. He's got a space on the outside. He's going to find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Nittany Lions. And Penn State extends their lead and is going to hold off Boston College just enough in order to get to 8-3 on the year. Great effort by Boston College, but the Nittany Lions were just a little bit too much to go ahead and handle. But now we go and see the number 4 ranked team in the nation, the Michigan Wolverines. They're going to be taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes, and this Michigan squad, they are a legit football team, undefeated. They haven't really struggled through this season at all, although we haven't seen them in too many nationally televised games this year, at least not that I can necessarily remember. However, this Iowa team on the road could give them a little bit of challenges as, snowy day, a little bit of a blizzard out here in Iowa City, Iowa. So that could be the great equalizer if we end up seeing an epic upset here. Again, to start this episode, we almost saw Penn State lose earlier, and sure enough, Iowa's going to tie this game. Mike Thomas runs it into the end zone for the Hawkeyes. And yet here they are again early in the second quarter. They're going to score yet again. Lonnie Jackson, he's going to find the end zone for Iowa as well. And that's going to help them extend this lead. They got the lead. They have the lead on the number 4 team in the nation. And that's when Michigan's like, all right, we spot you a couple. Let's go ahead and go to work as they hand the ball off to the highest overall player in the country, John Blair. He's the only 99 overall in this dynasty. and you saw the power there. Helped set up an Aaron Hines touchdown pass from Mike Williams, as Michigan does tie the game up at 14 all. Looking to take their first lead of the game, though. Looking to run it up the middle, and Mike Williams will pick up yet another first down. A 14-yard rush. They've really been finding their way on the offensive side of the ball, using that ground game, and it helps when you have a great running back in John Blair, who's going to punch it into the end zone. That will be a touchdown for Michigan, and even getting another possession before the end of the first half. So Iowa came out and threw that first punch pretty well, but Michigan, they answered it, and answered it extremely well, just really taking control, particularly in the second half of this game. They end up making this a 31-14 lead before Iowa even does end up scoring again, and that's not even from a touchdown. They just get a little bit of a field goal there. So 31-17 is your score going into the final quarter, and Michigan will add on to it just a little bit more. Another field goal for the Michigan Wolverines, and it looks like they're going to be walking away with a nice win here, unless Iowa has something to say about it. Looks over the middle, finds a receiver, and that's going to be almost a first down, as Austin Steele does get over 100 yards on the day. As now, second and short, looking again, it's got some time, fires, and finds Ben Robinson in the back of the end zone. Does make the score look a little bit better, but the score remains the same. Michigan goes to 11-0 going into the big game. But we have another top 5 team that's going to be in action, though, and that is the Miami Hurricanes. They're going to be playing host to the University of Southern Florida, as Southern Florida looking for a big-time win here in the Sunshine State. They're going to have to find a way to take down this Miami team if they want to get bowl eligibility in this episode here today. But Miami coming out the gate a little bit sluggish here. You know, they've gotten their fair share of red zone opportunities. But how about this? Casey Carter on the move, finding Cam Newton in the end zone. That's a touchdown for the Miami Hurricanes. But even then, Miami's playing good, but maybe not playing at that great level that we've seen them play multiple times throughout the course of this season, as we'll see them kick yet another field goal. That's going to be up in the air. That's going to be good as well. But just a 19-3 lead. Just, again, Miami, you know, they moved the ball down the field, but Southern Florida, they're certainly bending on the defensive end, but they're not breaking by any means. It keeps Southern Florida in the game a little bit longer than expected. They could still cut this to a 2-score game, which, you know, with 4.5 minutes left, that's not out of a question to make that kind of comeback if they can finish this drive out. They do need to punch it into the end zone, though. Second and goal coming up. They go with another speed option over to right hand side, and Jake Scott is untouched into the end zone. That's a touchdown for the Bulls. They're not bull crapping around. As we get a studio update, the first one in this episode, Charlotte wins their game in a close one. And Miami is also able to stave off the University of Southern Florida 29-17, as they will also get to 11-0 on the season. But we get a bunch of other games getting ready to kick off here. Most notably, game of the week, and that's also where College Game Day is going, Oregon and Washington. So I'm going to be really excited to watch that particular game. But first, we're going to check out a few other games throughout the country, as North Carolina, they were in action against Eastern Carolina, and this was never really a contest. They blew them out from the get-go, 70-10 being that final score, as North Carolina proves that they're definitely should have remained ranked this entire time. But then we go see LSU take on the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette. Louisiana, they started the year off 3-0, but getting into conference play, it's been brutal for them. Just winning 2 of their last 7 games. But still can get to a bowl game if they can beat LSU here on their home field. But Anthony Williams going to make that a little bit more difficult. He's going to score first for the Tigers. Louisiana looking to answer back. Their quarterback's going to scramble as well. He almost makes it all the way into the end zone. It's going to be considered a 9-yard run for David Jones. It's going to be essentially second and goal now from the 1-yard line. First down marker is like right on the end zone, which don't even need to pick up that first down without the touchdown, because they'll just get the touchdown anyways. And we got a tie ball game after 1 quarter. It could still go either way, but we'll see if Anthony Williams, who was a Heisman finalist in the preseason watch list, well, Anthony Williams is not playing around and playing any of those games right now. He sets up first and goal here in the second quarter as they'll look to retake the lead. All the time in the world, he finds Sean Callahan coming out of the backfield, and LSU will reestablish the lead. And after that, the Tigers really start to take off after that. Another field goal late in the first half is that their kicker celebrating the fact that he just made this a 2-score game. And yet they get the ball yet again here late in the second quarter. 1 minute left to play. Finds a receiver over the middle. Tries to fight for that last defender. Can't quite do it, but Chris Norman is going to be credited with a 12-yard reception, though, as Williams calls his guys to the line quickly. They only have one timeout left to work with. They want to save it for just in case they have to settle for a field goal. Williams doesn't even need to worry about it, though, as Jelani Williams is going to score. Touchdown, LSU. And they'll take a 24-7 lead into the half, and LSU just playing some great football after that first quarter. They show the Raging Cajuns why they're the little brother in the Bayou State, as LSU wins big, 44-14, ending up being your final score. But now we check in on a couple of other Florida teams going at it here on national TV. Florida taking on UCF, and you know, 9 of these teams, they're both playing for pride. They're trying to make sure that their coach does not get fired. And by the way, UCF with a 1-9 record, you know, for those of you that might be interested in being a custom coach this upcoming offseason, you know, this UCF job might be coming open. I mean, they're hot garbage this year, and I don't know if that will be the case for next season as well, but you know, you get to recruit in the state of Florida if you want to be possibly a coach for UCF should those spots open up. So definitely we'll keep an eye on UCF this upcoming offseason. But for now, going back to the Swamp, though, Florida does have a 7-3 lead here early on, as the Gators will try to build onto that before we go into the halftime locker room. As we have a 3rd and goal for the Florida Gators. They're going to try to set up the halfback screen. Works to perfection as it completely sucks in that UCF defense. There was nobody there, and BJ Peters, he's going to get probably one of the easiest touchdown sets he's going to have the entire season, if not his college career, right? So Florida is going to extend their lead further, 17-3 being your score, and starting to see that Florida team that we thought they were going to be early in the season is coming in a little bit late, but they're playing some good ball here, and this might be turned back to the crib here. He's already across midfield, but he gets caught down. Gavin Pierce just really looked him down, and I mean, that was read by like a novel. And it sets Florida up with yet another red zone opportunity as Matt Smith going to work there in the trenches. He picks an 8-yard gain up out of that. Is now 3rd and long coming up. BJ Peters trying to set up yet another halfback screen. Another opening. He's going to follow his blocks. In for yet another touchdown as Matt Smith gets his 2nd receiving touchdown of the game. But UCF won't be kept out of the end zone forever, as with 44 seconds left, they do get a late score out to Jason Allen. Doesn't change the fact that UCF is going to be 1-10, but before we confirm that final score, we do get some studio updates from around the country, though. Colorado State is currently leading against number 20 ranked Boise State Broncos 3-0, so we'll have to see how that turns out. And then Louisiana Monroe also beating Utah, so they finished their year 8-4. You love to see that, as Florida does indeed win this game 27-10. But now we get into our college game day matchup. Takes us out to the Pacific Northwest, and you cannot be sleeping on West Coast football. I know they play a little bit late, and many of you cannot stay up late enough to watch West Coast football. But these two teams right here are really legit. Washington taking on Oregon, two teams that are in the top 20, and whoever ends up winning this game will be going to the Pac-12 championship to play the winner of either USC or possibly UCLA, as those two teams are going to go up against each other in week 14. I'll be really excited for that one in general. But just going back to our game, though, Washington really proving that we need to be considered for the college football playoff. And Washington is the highest ranked team out there right now that is not undefeated. They took a loss early in the year to Penn State, but ever since that Penn State loss, they have really focused up, and they look like a team on a mission, just like this corner who is going to go coast to coast, running away like a girl in a country song. That's going to be a pick six for David Flowers. And Oregon takes a 24-0 lead into halftime. They are dominating the Oregon Ducks right now. It's been absolutely incredible to watch, but we'll see if Oregon play a little bit better here in the second half. As you know, with all the snow that's coming down, we've seen both teams run the football a little bit more often. But here's a pass for Joe McDaniel. He's gonna throw an interception too, and this is gonna be taken all the way back to the crib. Touchdown Oregon, and the Ducks finally get on the scoreboard, picking off Joe McDaniel. And they will go for the 2-point conversion as well. Going with a free tight end set, but run to the opposite side. Jeff Brady has nowhere to go, so they try to make this a 2-score game, but Washington will still hold on to an 18-point lead, though. As we go into the fourth quarter of action, Oregon still down by 15, but look at this check down for Will Flores. Finds his tight end, and is all by himself. Gets some good blockers as well, and Mario Winzy finds a way to get a 45-yard reception out of that. Just a little bit of a dump off. That's crazy to see. But Omar Clifford's going to try to keep him out of the end zone. He gets his first tackle and sack of the day. And eventually Oregon has a 4th and goal. They will go for it here. As a field goal at this point in the game is not going to help them, but this will. Mario Winzy find the end zone, and they're going to go for 2 yet again. Getting this 2-point conversion would make this a 7-point game, but Washington holds them. Washington holds them outside the goal line. And now Washington, 24-15 lead. We're going to put the dagger in them, and that could have been it. Drew Wright in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Huskies. Joe McDaniel has not thrown this football very much all day today, but they will go for the 2-point conversion. And it looks like there might have been a missed block there because DeWan Hampton, he had nowhere to go. So it is to a two-score game. But Oregon really needs to get going here as they're going to throw over the right-hand side. He's got an open receiver down the middle of the field, and David Miller is going to score. And all of a sudden, 2-point conversion makes this a 7-point game, a 1-possession game, as they're going to try to, no, it's going to be a run. They run it into the end zone, and it's just a 7-point game. However, they do need to force a turnover if they want to have any shot of coming back. That does not happen. John Moore is going to shut the door. And this was an exciting game to watch. This was just an absolutely exciting, riveting game to watch between Washington and Oregon. But the Huskies will pull it out, winning by a final score of 37-23. But now we get more NCSL college football action here. As Michigan State, the number 14 ranked team in the entire country, they will go on the road to take on an Indiana team that has not won a single game yet this season. Indiana also another team that could be coming open for some of you guys that want to be custom coaches this offseason. But while we're going to see if Indiana can remain competitive in this game, we get a studio update here as Boise State has a 4-point lead over the Colorado State Rams. But in the meantime, Michigan State enjoys their 21-3 lead over the Indiana Hoosier. He's going to throw over to the right-hand side, and for that touchdown, Sam Jackson just set a school record for most passing touchdowns in a career. That's his 81st career touchdown pass. So congratulations to Sam Jackson on the achievement. And the Spartans are going to win big, 42-23, as the Spartans are now 9-2 this season. But more games are coming alive as we're getting into the later portions of this NCSL action. We do have a potential conference championship clincher here as Marshall goes on the road against Notre Dame. Big implication for both teams here, as Marshall, if they win this game, they will be going bowling, as Boise State, speaking of bowling opportunities, Boise State does win 28-18. So they're 9-2 on the year. But we also get yet another studio update, also out on the West Coast. Let you know how much action is going on in the Marshall Notre Dame game. But Arizona State, they are ahead of Colorado 14-7. Arizona State needing just one more win to also get to bowl eligibility. But yeah, there really has not been a lot of action in this game, and Notre Dame really coming out flat for a team that could be playing in the conference championship if they win this game. They gotta beat Marshall, which doesn't seem like a big ask, but apparently Notre Dame at home just playing absolutely flat right now. Yeah, hate to see it, as Andrew Jack is going to try to set up a touchdown drive here possibly, but they have been short in the red zone quite a bit today, as they're going to look over the middle of the field. They finally find the end zone. It's Chris Fry that is going to catch the touchdown pass from Ed Turner. So that's just a one-score game, as we do get yet another studio update here. Colorado taking on Arizona State, and the Sun Devils, they'll have a 17-14 lead going into the third quarter. However, going into that fourth quarter of action, Marshall trying to pull this upset off against Notre Dame. They're playing just to get into a bowl game, and Marshall is going to get this field goal attempt to go through. So Marshall has a 20-10 lead, and then we have other close games around the country as well. Arizona State still playing it tight against the Colorado Buffaloes, but Marshall is going to win, so that will get them to be bowl eligible. And now Notre Dame, well, Notre Dame will still need a little bit of help just to go to the conference championship. And when I'm talking about help, West Virginia, they have a couple more conference games that they gotta play, but if West Virginia wins their next two conference games now, they will be the ones going to a conference championship here in this MAC new look conference, right? But they gotta find a way to beat Illinois. Illinois also trying to remain alive in terms of being bowl eligible, and that's also why West Virginia happens to need to win the next couple of games. So West Virginia, their next two games that they play really could be the difference between them starting their offseason a little bit early and them playing for a conference championship potentially. So that's something to really watch out for, as Illinois is really trying to play spoiler, trying to make sure that the country roads are absolutely silent this time at night, as Illinois really extending their lead now. They got a 13-0 lead here all of a sudden, as we now see this Illinois team. They're really exposing this West Virginia squad right now. West Virginia might have been able to beat Northwestern last week, but Illinois playing with a little bit more fire, and this could make it a 26-0 lead, which they do. Illinois makes it 26-0. So a blowout ensuing right now, but West Virginia, they will battle back though. They'll make this a 2-score game. Maybe they'll make it even less than that if they go for 2. They choose not to do that, but they will get the football yet again later in the fourth quarter. 6.5 minutes left to play, and suddenly if they score a touchdown yet again, this is still anyone's game. Like, the fact that Illinois could let West Virginia get all the way back, you know, that might be part of the reason why they are 4-6 right now. We'll see what Reggie Woods can do here on this 3rd and goal, as they're going to set up the halfback screen. He gets hit as he throws the ball, but looks like we will see Country Roads get awakened yet again, as Reggie Woods gets his 3rd touchdown toss of the game. But we'll take a break from that in order to check out this studio update. Well, Colorado just takes the lead, but Arizona State has the ball with 2 minutes left to play. They can pull a big upset there to secure bowl eligibility early. However, we do have our final score, and Illinois does win. So because West Virginia loses, Notre Dame is going to the MAC championship. But now we go to the border war between Missouri and the number 9 ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska coming on out. They are in that college football playoff discussion, sitting there at number 9 right now. There are 8 teams that do make it into the college football playoff. They might need a little bit of help depending on how at-larges work in terms of who gets those automatic buys, because how those auto bids are determined it's a little bit more unique. It's definitely going to be unique. I'll explain it further a couple of episodes from now, but That being said, Nebraska can only control what they can control right now, and that's winning this border war game against your rival. And sure enough, they will take their first lead of the game late in this first quarter of action. But still a tight game going into the second quarter now, as Nebraska choosing to throw the football, throws it over the middle to Marcus Lane, and Marcus Lane will move the sticks for the Cornhuskers in order to pick up that first down. As now, first and goal coming up, they're going to go with the fullback, Chris Howard, who is going to rumble and stumble his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Cornhuskers. It extends their lead to a 17-7 affair. Missouri trying to answer back as his running back's going to break a tackle. It's a solid run there for Rodney Martindale, who picks up a gain of 6. We'll see if they go to him a little bit more here as he has 9 carries. This is carry number 10. No, it's Brandon Green that made that carry. He'll pick up a gain of 10. Missouri will use one of their timeouts. They got one left to work with, but they're right on the goal line though. And Rodney Martindale, he's going to punch it in for the Missouri Tigers, as they will close this game up to just a field goal lead. So Nebraska might be feeling the pressure a little bit as they could be on upset alert. Nebraska, a team that, they play a little bit better in simulation, I think, than they do in actual gameplay. But, they're playing some good ball here. They do get to the 30s in this game. That should be enough to beat Missouri, as Nebraska does have a pretty good defense. But just to be safe, they're going to try to add a little bit more here. Run to the right-hand side. Not only a big first down for Tim Hayden, but it also means that Nebraska has ran for more than 200 yards in this football game. And that's going to be a score for CJ McIntyre. McIntyre does punch it into the end zone yet again for the Cornhuskers. They're on the verge of 40 points, and we do get a final from this game out on the West Coast. Colorado does hang on and win by 1 point. So Colorado is a team that beat this Nebraska squad back in week number 2. So hopefully we do see Colorado actually ranked in the top 25. But Eddie Nelson is going to try to make this game a little bit more interesting. James Bryant's going to throw a dot into the end zone. And if they get this 2-point conversion, suddenly a 2-score game. Anything could happen, but it looks like this game just might be a little bit too out of reach for them. But they're going to keep trying anyway. Minute left in this fourth quarter. Bryant's going to drop back. He's going to try to throw over the middle. It's initially dropped by the receiver, and it lands in the hands of a linebacker. That's not the quarterback's fault that James Bryant just threw that interception, but it doesn't change the fact that Nebraska, they're going to win their 11th game of the season. They're a college football playoff team, possibly. But now we go over to the Carolinas, where we'll see Virginia Tech take on the Clemson Tigers, as both teams are seeking their 7th wins of the season. We'll see what both these teams can do, as Pat Glover is going to set up Clemson inside the 5-yard line for this goal line opportunity, as they will indeed punch it into the end zone. So a nice finish for Clemson, and that's on an opening drive. That drive took less than a minute to do. You want to talk about setting a tone. This Clemson football team, they are doing exactly that right now, as they go back to the ground, and Gary Williams literally tried his best to get tackled at the 1-yard line, but fate will have it. He's going to have himself a touchdown anyways. And Clemson looking to dominate this first half and put it with a huge exclamation point. Lance Howard with the touchdown. And Clemson also dominating Virginia Tech in this game. They end up winning 42-21 as they're playing their best ball at the right time. So we just have a few more games left in this episode, one of them being the Battle of the Volunteer State. Vanderbilt and Tennessee are going to go at it against each other, and Vanderbilt, we kind of expected to have this kind of season at 4-6, but kind of be that scrappy team that provides some headaches to maybe some of the better teams in the conference and in the country. Tennessee was a preseason top 25 team, and if they lose this game, Tennessee is not going to be going bowling. Either way, one of these teams will not be in a bowl game this season, because one of them will have to lose. We'll see which one it is. And surprisingly, here in the second quarter, even though Tennessee has a major overall advantage, Vanderbilt is still hanging in there. They're still all knotted up at 7 apiece. But we'll see if Tennessee can go ahead and take this lead as they're trying to manufacture a nice little drive here towards the end of the first half, as Andrew Adams, who caught that touchdown reception earlier, he makes another catch for the first down. And Tim Landrum trying to throw some dots as Willie Perry, he gets another catch for 13 yards. That will set him up just outside of the red zone. And they're going 5 wide. They're really serious about passing this football. Throwing to the left-hand side, and it's going to be caught by the true freshman, Kevin Oliver from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. That's actually where Southeast Missouri State, an FCS program, that's where they play their college football at. So that's a nice little tidbit for those of you that are not as familiar with the FCS football landscape. Although we did have an FCS series on this channel in the past for those of you that are new to the channel, and if you want to check that out, definitely recommend it. But Vanderbilt only has a 7-point deficit, but they go and get a safety. They got the safety, and Vanderbilt down by multiple possessions. So the Volunteers look to take complete control of this game in a critical battle for the Volunteers space, as that is a dot. Oh my goodness, Tim Landrum, he is absolutely on it today. And so is this Houston offense as well. We get a studio update out in the state of Texas. Baylor goes down as well. And we will see Tennessee take down Vanderbilt 36-22. Tennessee's last game will determine whether they go bowling or not. But we only have a few more games left in this episode. Most notably featuring the number 12 team in the nation, the Georgia Bulldogs. But first we will check in. We have a custom coach update for offensive coordinator John Weeks, as his Troy Trojans will take on the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they'll actually take the lead with Tim Hicks, a 15-yard run. So Troy has the lead, and while we wait for the rest of the game to kick off, Arkansas taking on Mississippi State on the road, and the Razorbacks are going to win 34-21 as they maintain their number 17 ranking that they have in the country. Mississippi State does end up falling short as the Sanford transfer, Mark Robedo, left them just short, but then we also get a bunch of other scores around the country as well. South Alabama is able to beat Auburn 35-19. Arkansas State wins a close one against Memphis, and then Tulane, a little bit of a sleeper team, they take down Louisiana Tech at home. So we'll check in on the rest of this game as Alabama down 7-3 here, as they'll go ahead and go to the ground game. Josh Maxwell will get him forward just a few yards as Alabama looking to retake the lead, struggling out the gate here a little bit early, as they need this win to go bowling here, as they get this touchdown for Ryan Steffens. And sure enough, Alabama does retake the lead. And we get another commercial break, checking in on another game out in the southeastern part of the country. Number 7 Ole Miss opening things up against the Southern Mississippi Golden Eagles. And Ole Miss does have a field goal lead early. Meanwhile, with just seconds left in this first half, Alabama still in a close one with the Troy Trojans. It could still go in either direction, but it looks like Alabama's getting ready to take over here in the second half of action, as that kick is going to be up in the air, and that one's going to be good as well. Alabama will take a bigger lead, and their third quarter was absolutely gaudy. They blow out Troy as they pull away in the second half. However, this game between Georgia and Georgia Southern has some more intrigue than maybe what there is on paper, as Georgia Southern could sneak themselves into the conference championship game. They will need a little bit of help, but if they beat Georgia, who's a game in front of them, it's not completely out of the question to see Georgia Southern in a conference championship game above a Georgia in the SEC. So that is something to really watch out for. We'll see if the Chattanooga transfer Eric Jackson can lead the way as he has his guys down the goal line. Jackson will drop back the pass, looks to the left-hand side, and Spencer Wheeler catches the touchdown. They will say that this is a school record for passing touchdowns in a career. This is a renamed guy, though. That Cross kid is probably the last person that who it was probably originally named. But, either way, Eric Jackson having a very good season for Georgia Southern. And they will actually use his solid performance in terms of running the offense, not making any key mistakes. Give Georgia Southern the lead, and they're going to be up 13-7 in the fourth quarter. They have a chance to pull off an upset against number 12 Georgia, but they got to come away with points here in this red zone opportunity. Jackson has got some time, lots of time actually, rolling to his left. He's thinking about throwing it though. Nobody open. Finds a crosser eventually. I am shocked that Eric Jackson didn't decide to scramble for it, but that does help him set a new school record for passing yards in a season. He's closing in on 3,000 yards, and it's not out of question that he could be the first quarterback in Georgia Southern history to make that happen. Only 250 yards away from doing just precisely that. And we got a couple more games that Georgia Southern will probably play after this. But they will go for the 2-point conversion. They're trying to run it on the ground, but it's no good. So Georgia will get one last shot at the football, and a touchdown will help them win this game. Can Georgia come back and win? 1:24 left to play. They start by dumping the ball over the middle of the field. Finds Antonio Paris for a 17-yard gain. They're already closing in at midfield and got a good pace, but their backup quarterback's going to have to come into the game, but throws a strike. His first pass attempt of the game, he finds Dan Jones for 39 yards. This kid came and balled out early as G tries to lead a game-winning drive. Throws to the tailback, breaks one tackle, gets away from a couple of others, and it's going to be brought down eventually inside the 5-yard line. This is going to be a game of the century right here. 2nd and goal, chance to punch it into the end zone. He's going to try to run it in, and he does! Paul Preston, the backup, is going to punch it in with 33 seconds left. And they'll also get the 2-point conversion to come with it as well. So Georgia Southern loses a heartbreaker as the Bulldogs escape Statesboro, Georgia with a 3-point win. So we only have one more game left in this episode, though, and that is Oregon State. The Beavers looking to take on Washington State, but the Cougars are coming out with some dots as Jake Avery gets the 10 toes down into the end zone. So that gives Washington State an early 7-0 lead, but their defense has also showed up and played today. They got a nice interception there, picking off Charles Wright, even though Oregon State will get a big touchdown later in the game. Washington State is still playing competitive. Here we are in the second half. Cougars coming in as pretty sizable underdogs. They were a 2-possession underdog coming into this game. But 7 minutes left in the third quarter. They have a chance to retake the lead, and they will, finding Hall in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Cougars. And Washington State again has the lead, up 14-7. But Oregon State, they trying to get to bowl eligibility, and that run in the end zone will help them accomplish that. Cuts it down to just a 3-point game, as Oregon State will have a chance to take the lead for the first time in this entire game. We might see them start to find some momentum here in Pullman, Washington, as one of the last plays of the third quarter. Man goes out in motion. It's a triple option. Over to right inside. It's going to be pitched, and it will be Charles Wright they're calling out a pass on the field, so it will count as a touchdown pass for Charles Wright. His second touchdown pass of the game, and it won't take too long possibly to see a third touchdown, but they end up going backwards there. Will Johnson, recipient of that negative 5-yard reception. So it sets up 3rd and 12, but they convert anyways as William Byrd gets wide butt naked open, and the Oregon State Beavers amass over 500 yards of total offense, winning 28-17 on the road. So we had a ton of action in our nationally televised games, but even outside of those nationally televised games, we did also get some interesting results in the simulation. Starting with your guys' custom coaches, offensive coordinator Ricky Natalius. He's closing out his first year, and it's been a rough last couple of weeks for the Wyoming Cowboys. This time they lose big against BYU, 42-7, as the Cougars do secure bowl eligibility. As for the battle between Navy and Temple, Navy is going to be playing in the conference championship over in the Conference USA, as Navy is able to beat defensive coordinator Jake Jacobs and the Temple Owls 38-24. Navy is also on the verge of a 10-win season to wrap up their regular season. Even then, we get some big matchups in the heartland of the country, as Minnesota took on Kansas State. That could have had major conference implications. Minnesota wins 19-10 though, as they'll be going to the American Conference Championship most likely, representing that Frontier division. As for Ohio State, they had a brutal loss against Cincinnati last week, but they will bounce back well enough to beat Akron 38-17, setting up an epic crash against the Michigan Wolverines in the final week of the regular season. Could be a conference championship preview as well. As for Texas A&M, they continue to roll through the end of the regular season as they take down the UTEP Miners in conference play 31-14, proving that they are indeed deserving of a top 10 national ranking. The Pittsburgh Panthers also trying to prove the same thing as they go on the road to take on the Stanford Cardinal. However, the Cardinal was no match for the Panthers as Pittsburgh wins 31-3, also setting themselves up for a potential double-digit win regular season. But we do have a newcomer in the top 25 as Army gets back in, and they do so because they win impressively against Buffalo. They do what they're supposed to do, and then some. Army beats Buffalo 45-7, as it was an absolute barn burner for the Black Knights. Oklahoma, in the meantime, continues to climb as they are now number 23 in the country. After a slow start to the season, they beat SMU 35-7 in conference play, as the Sooners could also get a double-digit win year before we even start conference championships. But that team that ended up falling out of the top 25 though was actually the Texas Longhorns. And you know why they fell out of that top 25? It's because they play with their food. And that's exactly what happened here, as Rice is able to pull a stunner, winning 31-30 and using that as an opportunity to earn themselves bowl eligibility here in year number 1 of the NCSL Dynasty. We also saw a studio update on this game, but did not see the final until recently. Ole Miss, they do beat Southern Mississippi 31-10, as Ole Miss looks like they're going to be representing that one of the divisions in the SEC as they are going to a conference championship game, but they want to finish this regular season strong next week too. They'll have the Egg Bowl. So now that we are closing in on the end of the regular season, here's what we are looking at as of right now in terms of the college football playoff poll. And just looking at the college football playoff poll right now, just doesn't really seem like there's much change at the top necessarily. No crazy results that we really were not necessarily expecting. Georgia did move up one spot though. They beat Georgia Southern. They're going to the conference championship game in the SEC as well. And Georgia, they're actually going to be taking on Miami. That'll be a big time matchup to watch out for in a couple of episodes. Minnesota, they also move up one spot. They're up to number 12. Cal moves up one because they were on bye. Penn State, they were in a close game against Boston College, but the Nittany Lions figured it out. They win the game. They go up a couple of spots, as does Arkansas, who beats Mississippi State and allows Ole Miss to clinch a divisional title 1 week earlier than expected. Michigan State, however, they fall one spot, even though they did win pretty convincingly against the Indiana Hoosiers. Meanwhile, to round out this college football playoff poll, we got Pittsburgh, who moves up a couple of spots to number 17 in the country. They beat Stanford big. Boise State's up 2 spots as well. They're at 18 as they take down Colorado State. They will finish their regular season against the Wyoming Cowboys. We got Navy as well at 19, a 2-touchdown win over Temple. Ohio State up 2 after they beat Akron. North Carolina, they absolutely destroyed Eastern Carolina's hopes and dreams. They're up to number 21. That's a 3 spot increase. And then rounding out your group is Oregon, who played in the College Game Day matchup, Army, who is a newcomer, Oklahoma, who's up one spot, and then Baylor, they're just hanging on by a thread after a heartbreaking loss to the Houston Cougars in conference play. So this takes us into the final week of the regular season. And in this final week of the regular season, not only will we end up having more nationally televised matchups to wrap up this regular season, we'll still have that full assortment of 16 games, including at least 2, maybe even more top 25 matchups. So definitely going to be some barn burners on the way. We'll also take a look at a preview of the conference championship games as well, and we'll take a look at kind of explaining a little bit further how those 5 automatic bids for the 8-team college football playoff in this first year of the NCSL, how is that going to work out, because it's going to be a little bit more unique. So you're definitely going to want to watch out for that in the next episode as well. But for now, we are going to go ahead and sign off for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the content, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button as well. If you do happen to be brand new to the channel, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.